Live from the headquarters of Smith Fam Adventures, it is a day of maintenance for the travel trailer. On the agenda today, replacing the evaporator in the refrigerator. What happened? Well, I'll show you. During the last trip or so, we've noticed that the refrigerator was losing Freon, so we've had to charge it basically every time we've used it. And there was a leak over here, and I decided I was going to try and fix it with these aluminum welding rods and some MAP gas, and yeah, I destroyed it. So my attempt to repair it completely screwed it up. My fault entirely, and so we're gonna have to replace that. So it brings us back to this piece. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna replace it. Now, when I put ours in, I ended up crimping one of these off bad. So I'm gonna be very careful this time on my flexing of this. Yeah, I've wanted to replace it just because I had screwed that up. So this just gives me the perfect opportunity to put a new one in. Many thanks to King ETC, who sold the kit and sold it at a substantially better price than I was expecting. So we're gonna go ahead and get this piece into the trailer. I'm gonna take the old one out and then make this one match the other one in shape, and then get that in. Okay, so I've got this into the shape of the area that I want to put it into. Pretty close to what we used to have. And I've tried to make sure that all of these don't have any bends in them to restrict flow, so that's good. This is good right here for sure. And now I get to fish this set of lines through and put it in. Alright, so here we are in the trailer. I've got that back in. I've got the pipes routed. They're all routed over and around and over to the condensing unit, and then I thought while I was at it I'd go ahead and spray some paint down on the floor of this thing inside the refrigerator, because it was getting a little on the rusty side. Need a little protection. So while that's drying, I've got this handle that for whatever reason came off of our spigot for the sink, and so I'll fix that. I'll get that screwed back in. There's a screw that's under that plate. It just backed out. And then I'll start going through just one by one, checking stuff out. And I think we might have it. Alright, that's fixed. Alright, so I'm up at the shop right now, and I've got the trailer behind me, and I've got the AC machine going, and we're drawing a vacuum on the air conditioning, on the refrigeration system for the refrigerator. And I'll charge some refrigerant into it now that I've got that stuff installed. I've had a number of people ask kind of about our setup and how we have things put together for our trailer, as far as being able to boondock and be able to just be able to go out camping and have cold goods and such like that. So our setup is very simple, pieced together out of eBay and Amazon bits. And it's actually really inexpensive when you think about it, the way we've done it. So our trailer is using basically a simple solar array with a simple charge converter, a charge controller, with a couple of lead acid deep cycle batteries, and then all the rest of the accessories are all 12 volt. It's just a simple setup. The key to being out and camping and enjoying that time is basically having some sort of place to store your cold goods. This is our ice box in our trailer. This is just a standard issue ice box. And I got the Artec board and put it on the outside and kind of insulated this thing a lot better, even all the way into the door. So it's all nicely insulated. And then we added the refrigeration kit. So King ETC on eBay sells a refrigeration kit that is a 12-volt setup. I tucked the condensing unit over there, which has the compressor and all that other stuff on it. And then it runs some lines that pump refrigerant over, and then it does the cooling in the box. Our solar is very simple as well. EcoWorthy sold us through Amazon a simple 120 watt panel setup with charge controller. We have added an additional 100 watt solar panel, so it's 220 watts of solar production. And I love this charge controller. It gives me an indication of if it's charging, gives me an indication of what the state of charge of the battery is, especially that voltage readout. And then also I can turn on and off whether or not we could have loads directly connected to the charge controller as opposed to the battery, and I can turn them on and off through the charge controller. And then the charge controller also has USB outputs, which we usually use to charge our devices during a regular camp out. A lot of our flashlights are USB charge, so we'll just charge them right off of that, so it even cuts down on the battery consumption. And by battery consumption, I mean using up like AA's and AAA's and stuff like that. Down under here is the battery setup. So there are 2 lead acid batteries, both are group 24s. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head how many amp hours, but they are just group 24 batteries, 2 of them, both in parallel. And then of course there's our fuse panel, which, yeah, it's a little dirty of a setup, but all the devices that are powered off of it are all fused. One of the awesome things about solar is when you buy the RV style panels, you can buy these splitters and you can just connect your panels in with these universal plugs. They're all basically set up the same way. And so our panels all come in and they're all teed together through this port right here and then run straight over and into the charge controller. So I didn't have to do any splicing and crimping on any of this. I just plugged it in. Of course, the benefit to solar in an exploring and off-road sense is no generators, so no spare fuel to power the generator. And it's, you know, as long as you have good sunny days, you can build an array that'll pretty much run everything you need. Now, we don't run like microwaves or like coffee makers or things like that, because we don't have any use for any of that out in the wild. So our cooking is still done via propane, which is pretty efficient as well. But as far as like a refrigerator, this refrigerator, it's small enough, and it's small enough that it really only needs a little bit of battery power to run it. And of course the devices that we have, that's nice to be able to charge them off of the residual solar. The lighting in the trailer is all powered off of solar. We can hook up a 200 watt inverter, and that gives us enough power to run a DVD player and a projector so we can watch movies when we're out. It really doesn't take a whole lot of electricity to do the things we do. Back to the refrigerator though, the cool part about that refrigerator is just how nice it is it's so quiet. When it's running, it is just like, you don't barely hear it. It just kind of sits there and hums away and does its thing. And the readout, although a little annoying how bright it is, it's actually reasonably good as a nightlight. So nobody's worried about not seeing stuff in the night. It's actually really nice for that. Alright, so the refrigerator unit is cooling off. It's at a balmy 59 degrees in there, which it started at 97. And I've got a little fan blowing on the condenser unit over there to give it a little bit of oomph to help drop the temperature in the box. And we're on our way down. We're cooling off. The initial cool off of the refrigerator is always the hardest, especially when the ambient temps get over 90 degrees. It labors really hard from the 90 to almost 100 degrees that the box can be at. So what I like to do sometimes is since it still has the ice function on the box, I'll load ice in the box and just saturate the box with ice, get the temperature down with the ice, and then turn the refrigerator on. But that wasn't necessarily the way I wanted to do it this time. I wanted to see how well I could get this refrigerator to do it on its own. And it's dropping. And the idea of having the fan on the condenser to help cool it off, that's a good idea too, because the fan itself is going to blow that heat away from that condensing unit. So let me shut this fan off for just a second, and I'll let you guys hear what the actual compressor condenser unit sounds like. There you go, that's all the noise that it makes, that's it. Pretty crazy how quiet this thing is. And it's right under my bed. Doesn't even wake me up at night. Alright, so this is where I cue one of the "is your refrigerator running" jokes. But in fact, it is running. The refrigerator in the travel trailer is working just fine. It has been running now for a good 6 hours, and it is maintaining temperature exactly as we want it to do. If you are interested in the same type of setup that we have, reach out to King ETC on eBay. He has a wonderful array of products, and he sells this ice box conversion kit that we have in our ice box. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay the course, and we will catch you on another episode of Smith Fam Adventures.